Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. We have a good one for you today, and we are talking about the big news. So many different angles to this massive story. George Floyd gets what some call justice, what some call accountability, with Derek Chauvin's acquittal on all 3 counts. Could face up to 30 years in prison. On today's show, we're going to take a look at some heightened scrutiny coming already as the U.S. has opened a police inquiry, or the Justice Department has opened a police inquiry into the Minneapolis Police Department. Also, we're going to take a look at the civil rights lawyer Keith Ellison, former House of Representatives member, Minnesota Attorney General, and possible future progressive star. We'll take a look at what happened and how the Derek Chauvin verdict was received among rank and file and broadly leadership in police departments all across the country. So, yeah, that's what we're going to be getting into today. A lot of different angles to this story, and we can definitely start with, don't know really where to start, but, yeah, let's start with this. Obviously, George Floyd getting some sort of justice, some sort of accountability here. And by the way, we do have Zach and Eli with us, so welcome to the show, guys.
Hello.
Yeah. First of all, let's start by bringing our guests in on this. What was your reaction? How did you find out that the George Floyd verdict had come down? Personally, I was like,
I watched it live.
You watched it live? I was in practice, and I was like, pretty surprised. I was like, wow, like I did not expect it to take that quick.
Yeah,
it was a few hours.
Oh, you mean like it was 10 hours deliberating?
Yeah, the verdict.
Exactly.
Yeah, because
I didn't expect it that quick either, but I was very happy. Pleasant surprise.
Yeah, do you guys get a sense there's like a real shift in policing culture, or like the way police are treated in our culture?
I don't know. I don't think like the justice system is like a super good representation of like the culture in our society. And you could say that's a good thing or a bad thing depending on the present moment. So I do think it's a good thing he got convicted, but I don't know. I think the change in culture happened before, and this is an effect rather than...
Yeah, I think it's, like the change in culture from the George Floyd murder, from all the protests, led to a like prosecution that was not going to like let him get away with it pretty much, where he was kind of in a lot of trouble from the start. But still, again, with what we've seen in that video, such a clear cut case, there was still like some real doubt that he could have been acquitted. Did you think it was possible
that he got acquitted?
Yeah.
No, probably not.
Yeah, I don't think so. I think it's pretty unlikely. I mean, anything is possible when it's like a cop, but I think this one was pretty unlikely. I mean, also like the defense like totally flopped apparently from what I was hearing from the commentators. Like a lot of their evidence was not that good. So I think it was pretty cut and dry. You know, there were like multiple coroners saying that the cause of death was asphyxiation.
Yeah. When I saw that, I was like, it's totally over.
Yeah,
like
I mean,
just getting there, like proving the key point over and over.
When the fucking defense was like trying to use the fucking car fumes as their as evidence, I think that was pretty much a wrap from there.
Yeah, they tried to pull like my cousin Vinny moment out of them, but it just ended up looking really very hollow. Really just 10 hours, and it's really kind of remarkable because I do get a sense that there is at least a systematic, not necessarily tied to the verdict or anything, but there is a way. In the past year, there's been a real fundamental change in the way that police are viewed in our society.
Yeah, definitely. For the better.
Yeah, I think people get definitely a much more like clear and like wholesome view of what's going on, but
definitely not wholesome.
Holistic, I guess. That would be the more appropriate term. Yeah, so this week, over the course of 2 days, a racially diverse jury of 7 women and 5 men deliberated for about 10 hours before pronouncing Chauvin guilty on all 3 charges: second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and second-degree manslaughter. So President Biden praised the verdict in a nationwide address at the White House, calling it too rare, but a step to deliver basic accountability for Black Americans. After the verdict, Philanese Floyd, one of the Floyd's younger brothers, spoke at the Hilton Hotel in Minneapolis. "We are able to breathe again," he said, holding back tears. So that's a very, very good feeling for the family, much in a big way. So, like, you gotta, like, the people probably feeling the happiest just to get some sort of sense of closure has to be the family there. And Benjamin Crump was the lawyer for the family, who was kind of gathering through. And of course, I see, can't help but notice Al Sharpton there in the right frame of the right of the frame of the picture. Always hanging around. But yeah, the case was handled by Attorney General Keith of Minnesota, Keith Ellison, the first Black man to hold statewide office in Minnesota. Prosecutors mounted perhaps the most ambitious and extensive case in any trial of an officer on an on-duty killing. Do you think, this is a question, like, is it just because of all this media attention that so much effort was put in the part of the prosecution? Because normally the prosecution and the cop are on pretty good terms.
Yeah, I think it definitely played a part in it. I don't know if this case, I mean, people were saying, like, they don't even know if it would have been brought to trial, like, unless there's a lot of public outreach. But I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but definitely the public outcry played a huge part. Not the huge part like, oh, it's a mistrial because there was jury intimidation. Like, no, that's not what I mean.
With Maxine Waters.
Oh my God, dude. Maxine Waters said there would be like riots. That's a mistrial. Yeah, that's
some
ridiculous.
of the media reaction to this have been
they're running
insane.
They're running dangerously low on copium supplies.
Yeah. What's been your favorite so far? Like, let's give the people some of
my favorite cope.
What's going on? Yeah, especially the conservative reactions that were just
my favorite cope is on. I mean, if you have a hard stomach or whatever, you can go on 4chan where they're just really they're really popping off.
Oh no, that is it's definitely
lots of N words and kikes being thrown around there. So yeah, if you're Jewish, watch out, which is what they're saying. It's actually quite terrifying, but
that's 4chan
okay.
For you.
I know they're all just like basement dwellers who are never going to do anything, so it doesn't really bother me. But yeah, that's pretty messed up. They really hate Jews. I don't really know how. They said like the Jews.
Because we have the space laser.
They said like Jews cause like they caused the guilty verdict somehow. I don't even.
Yeah, like they wormed their way
in
to the jury room or something like that.
Yeah, the Zionists, the globalists.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, let's get to this one here. Let's line some up. This is Greg Gutfeld.
You
gotta get.
That's my Janine Pereira impression. No.
I need to find it. Yeah, I really do need to find it. There's several good clips. I think we should go through all these.
I'm ashamed where I found my clip from. I watched it on Crowder's fucking Twitter because that was the only clip I could
The Greg
find.
Gutfeld clip?
Yeah, he's like the only place I could find it.
Because Steven Crowder and Greg Gutfeld have beef, so was Greg Gutfeld
Steven Crowder hated it, but obviously for the wrong reason. Because he thought Chauvin... Well, Steven Crowder did a very scientific study where he had somebody give him a back. He had somebody give him a back massage for 9 minutes.
Yeah,
and then he didn't die. Else. So definitely, it was impossible that George Floyd was murdered.
All right,
so,
Zach, yeah. I sent you the link. You want to play? Let's play some of these.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. So this is what was going on Fox right as the verdict here was coming out. And yeah, it's very, very interesting. And yeah, let's play it. right now.
On all counts. Get your reaction to that.
Well, clearly the verdict is supported by the facts. This case was extremely unusual. I've tried many murder cases, and I sat as a judge on murder cases. It is rare that you even get a picture of the victim in a murder case, other than maybe an autopsy photo. But here, we had a living, breathing person that the jury was able to relate to every day, day after day, watching the trauma of what he went through, begging for air, begging to breathe. This was an emotional as well as an intellectual decision. And when I say that, make no mistake, the facts are solid on this verdict. This verdict will be upheld on appeal. But right now, what people need to understand is that the American justice system works. It works, that people believe in Lady Justice, that if we give it a chance, it can work. And for all those people who want to burn down streets, just let the court do its job, and it will survive.
Yeah, that's the
we'll
thing.
Get more reaction from the panel.
It's a very interesting take.
I don't agree.
From Piero,
I do think it worked in this scenario.
Yeah, it worked in this scenario, but the thing is that the thing that gives so many people pause is, would it have worked if we had not spent the past year protesting and doing what we did with all this media attention? And I don't think you can honestly say that. Like, there's been plenty of if the video had gone out, if like, for example, the wrong person posted the video, it just didn't go the same way. Like, there's been plenty of examples of police brutality that have not gotten a lot of attention. If there wasn't video, oh yeah, that would be for sure. Not even if the video existed and just didn't get for some reason as viral as it did, and it sparked so much outrage. So a lot could have been different. Like, this is like the biggest protest movement in history. Like, I'm pretty sure in terms of just numbers of people.
Yeah,
sustained.
I still think he would have got convicted because, it is still fat. Like, the public opinion.
If there had been a video.
If there had been. Well,
or if
I don't
there
know,
hadn't,
actually.
is what you're
If there
talking
hadn't
about.
been a video, then I don't actually know.
Yeah, if there hadn't been a video,
I would. Security
I'm
camera
convinced.
footage or whatever.
I'm convinced.
If you're saying if that like one girl didn't do it, then
yeah, there probably would have been another angle.
I think it's.
I don't know.
I don't know because
it's an interesting historical what if, because you're gonna have a lot of different like possibilities in this, and it definitely determines the attitude towards like just general like the populace's trust in the police system and the like justice system to work out the police system when the police system screws up. So yeah, it's clear that we're not there yet, but this is definitely like, for me, what this is like, it's not all lost. Like, there is some semblance of normality and justice for police, because if this guy hadn't gone, like, what's the point of anything? Anyway,
Tucker Carlson's steaming now that Janine Pereira said Derek Chauvin. He sounded upset that he was going to jail. He was like, he's going to spend the rest of his life in jail.
Yeah, we'll get to Tucker Carlson next. Let's play this clip. Let's play GoFo. Come on.
Oh, okay. Excuse me. I don't want to spoil anything.
We said the same thing over and over again. The cops found it disgusting. Everything is like, but there was this myth going around of a disagreement, I guess, so that the media could cling to the narrative that America is full of racist rubes, which is
it's a myth
something
of
that makes maybe
disagreement,
their viewers feel
disagree.
superior. But this wasn't a divisive case. And I think it's a contrast between the reality of Americans who are experiencing this all at once and the manufactured environment of the people who create the news, which is that this reflects a racist country. It reflects racial division. It means the cops are all racist. It means it's not a bug in the system. It's a system itself. That was what was creating the perception of division. Everybody agreed this case was disgusting and ugly and there should be justice. But there was another story being played a lot. And now I'm going to just get really selfish. I'm glad that he was found guilty on all charges.
Yeah.
Even if he might not be guilty of all charges.
Oh.
I am glad that he is guilty.
I've never heard someone say, oh my God, like that on national television. That sounds like, I think the last time I've heard someone talk like that was like when the Challenger exploded. Literally.
Or when the planes hit the towers on CNN. Like, but oh my God. Just like absolutely horrified. So yeah, rewind that.
Yeah.
Even if he might not be guilty of all charges.
Oh my God.
I am glad that he is guilty of all charges because I want a verdict that keeps this country from going up in flames.
He doesn't even care about justice.
Oh my goodness.
No.
What do you mean?
Judge Janine of all
Greg,
people.
What do you mean? No, I'm at least being honest.
Dude, I'm being honest, dude. I want black people out of my neighborhood. How can you be mad at me? I'm being honest.
What neighborhood does he live in?
burning
That's
down
what I
my
wanna know.
park.
This fucking guy, dude. What an idiot. Jesus Christ.
My neighborhood was looted. I don't ever want to go through that again.
We do not sacrifice individuals for the sake
I'm
of
saying he's
how
guilty.
people
I'm
feel.
saying I'm glad about the
You
verdict.
just said.
Okay, but
You
the
just
said
bottom
he may
line
not have
is,
been guilty.
That courtroom,
Just say
that
it.
courtroom is a
Say what
place
you
where the
believe, man.
evidence is brought in.
Come on.
It is pristine in terms of the way it's handled. Everything outside of the courtroom does not enter it.
Okay.
Whoa.
Did you wait a second? Did you hear what Mike Tobin said when he was interviewing some people when they said, "Hey, we're not going to loot tonight. We're going to celebrate."
Right,
So we were dealing with what we thought was a sense of extortion. That if this didn't go a certain way, I'm speaking the truth. If it didn't go a certain way, there was going to be
Well,
there was going to be
he's kinda right on
destruction.
that.
We know that.
But
Why pretend otherwise?
it's not. He's saying it for the wrong reason.
All right, let me bring in former federal prosecutor and Fox.
Like, there's gonna be fucking social and civil unrest if like a guy on videotape murdering somebody doesn't
Gets
get
off.
convicted.
Yeah. That's maybe
Crazy.
a problem with the.
Yeah. So like, there's no surprise there, Greg.
Yeah, we don't have to really go for the next one, but yeah, I just sent in the Tucker Carlson one too. But like, it's very interesting because one of the byproducts of this is like the whole arrival of cancel culture and this whole culture, like response culture of like ultra wokeness and fear over looting, and of course, is that cultural fear of looting that's been implanted in like places like Fox News, is that justified? Is that like acceptable? Like that's a debate, and honestly, I am up to like I'm not on firm ground on that, to be quite honest with you.
I mean, is there really any proof that the looting is even connected to the protest? Like, besides the fact that like, large gatherings of people, opportunity for anarchism. Like, where is the proof that it's connected to George?
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the thing,
I could
because
be
the
wrong
protests
here.
themselves are like very spontaneous. Like they're not really organized, and when they do, they're not out there condoning looting.
I'm just saying I have not seen
But
anything.
I would say in
like,
terms of
they're
looting,
connected.
like individual stores is one thing. I mean, I would say that they're probably like, if not outright encouraging, condoning like things like vandalizing cop cars and stuff like that, which is not really what people are talking about, because people have burned down cop cars before, but like the reach of the fear over looting, I think was much deeper than that. It's just it's the fear of like the black urban hordes coming into the suburban neighborhoods. That's
I
really
mean,
what's the
people
heart of it.
do loot the small businesses or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know who is making those threats. Like, people saying we're going to protest or whatever, but like the reality is like protests just bring riots because that's how it works. Like but it's not like
It's
because
mob
of it.
mentality.
Yeah. I mean, it could happen in anything. Like, it's not just because the left wing. Like, it could happen in like a right wing protest too. It's just like bad actors will take
Definitely
advantage.
happened before, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
there are many actually right wing protests in this country.
It doesn't have to do with ideology at all. It's like, well, I'm not going to say it's completely separate, but this will happen in anything. Like, it's just an opportunity. That's nothing to do with the actual protests.
Yeah, it really is kind of an insane situation all around. Let's go into what did Tucker Carlson have to say about this?
So, this is gonna be real fun.
Are going through the windows of Macy's, and the cops are just standing there. Do they resign?
Pause it for a second. So yeah, normally when you see a former law enforcement official on Tucker Carlson, you expect him to be a pretty awful guy. But this is a former New York corrections officer who went on Tucker Carlson's show as to advocate for different policing tactics in the wake of George Floyd's death. So
obviously, their honor's being violated, but they're not doing anything about it. When do they start doing something about it and protecting everyone else, not just George Floyd?
No. What I want people to protect. I want the police to protect people. But specifically what we're dealing with a person in custody who was handcuffed and he was subdued.
Right.
At that point, we have to take a different tact. And one of the things I just want to suggest, Tucker,
I'm
there's
totally
a
willing
thing,
to believe that. Yep.
Yeah, the U.S. Department of Justice came out with a position paper on positional asphyxia and sudden death. It was published in 1995 and again in 1998. I think every law enforcement officer should read that. It should be read at roll calls. Because what it does, it talks about the physiology of a struggle. Now, like I said, Mr. Floyd was brought under control. What should have happened at that point is EMS should have been summoned, and he should have been placed in an ambulance. And a supervisor should have been called to the scene. I just think that it was excessive, and it shouldn't happen. And what I'd like to see...
The guy who did it looks like he's going to spend the rest of his life in prison. So I'm kind of more worried about the rest of the country, which, thanks to police inaction, in case you haven't noticed, is boarded up. So that's more my concern. But I appreciate your coming on. Ed Gavin, thank you. Nope, done. Thank you. Heather McDonald is the author of The War on Cops. She joins us with reaction. Heather,
yep, let's get the normal propaganda right back in. That guy was sounding too controlled and reasonable and knowledgeable.
He wants Tiananmen Square, bro. Like, oh my God, people are looting a Target. What the fuck does he want the cops to do? Like, what does he want them to do?
Gun them down.
Cops fucking shoot.
That's what
they use pepper spray. They use shit. What does he want? There's nothing else to do. Cops are already super brutal with protesters.
I think a lot of
again.
I think a lot of
he can't arrest every single one of them. Like, what are you gonna shoot them? Like, what does he want? I don't. What?
There are a lot of right wing actors who are incredibly stupid and are only propped up because a bunch of billionaires pay them. But Tucker Carlson is very good at
Tucker Carlson
the ideology
bro. He's already rich.
But yeah, that's exactly right. He brings in the right wing ideology of look, the people Zach mentioned before on 4chan. He sanitizes that through Fox News. That is exactly how someone like that would react in polite society, not on the internet boards. And the people who do that on the internet boards write for his show. So it's not a surprise when you see something like that happening. Yeah, it's that guy, honestly, if you have messaging like that, just to give that guy credit for a second, he was very, that's a guy who can reach, more, upper class, white conservative America and say, hey, what? We can, have law enforcement read a paper. They can understand this, they're trained, they know what's happening, and, yeah, this is the absolute, the sarcastic, airy, sarcastic reaction there, and there's the is such clear.
He clearly doesn't care.
Fear. That's
yeah.
I'm in a bad situation here. Let me get out of this.
He also very. I mean, he could not make it any clearer that he just does not care at all. If he got acquitted, it would not affect him. He just doesn't care.
Yeah. It is it's a pretty fair, it's a pretty fair thing to say that this guy is just laundering, whatever you want to call it, white supremacist or fascist talking points, and he is one himself. So if you're doing that, you're one yourself. And I really hate to use that designation against people like Ben Shapiro, because I don't think they're operated at quite the same level. But this guy, he knows the certain buttons to push better than anyone else, I think, in right-wing media. And he does it, in a way that really, whips people up. My uncle's a pretty big watcher of him, but, I can still have a conversation
Ben
of Tucker Carlson. But
unironically or
unironically, but I can still have, a pretty, normal conversation with him, even though we disagree on some things. And he's been on the show before.
Only some things.
Yeah, I don't know. I could be misrepresenting his what he watches, but it could be more Fox News, not explicitly Tucker Carlson. But yeah, his views on shall we say criminal justice are the ones I disagree with most. But yeah, anyway, some other big news from this today was the Justice Department has opened a broad inquiry into the Minneapolis Police Department. Attorney General Merrick Garland announced on Wednesday that a sweeping investigation into the Minneapolis Police Department signaled that the Biden administration will seek to combat police abuses around the country and apply stricter federal oversight to local forces. The Justice Department will examine the Minneapolis police whether they routinely use excessive force or treat minorities unfairly. The inquiry will also scrutinize police training and accountability practices, among other issues. Garland's announcement came a day after the conviction of former officer Derek Chauvin in the murder last year of George Floyd, a black man whose death spurred the largest racial justice protests in decades. Yeah, so that is a big announcement there, and kind of a sign of structural action from the Biden administration. Obama, I think he did this with the Boston Police Department, but do you think this is going to go further, or set up some broader change and broader momentum?
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think I think change from the bottom up is very important. I think ending qualified immunity is one of the most important things that can only really happen impactfully at a federal level, right?
Yeah, qualified immunity needs to go.
Yeah, that's for sure, because we have a very that's the kind of the first step in terms of making sure that there's actual accountability for what happens here. But the real question is, how do you get to root to make sure that the bad things don't happen in the first place?
Yeah.
But the sign of how broken we are in the system is we still don't have
according
a strong
to people on
mechanism
Twitter.
to punish.
According to people on Twitter, it's going to work because people always say, "Oh, you don't think that if you get rid of qualified immunity, then cops will be afraid to do their job?" So if they're afraid to do their job of murdering people and getting consequences
what was their job?
for it, then apparently it's going to work. So they made that argument for you.
Yeah, they kind of have a. No, that's actually different. I was going to make a reference to what's something that happened in England, but it's a little different. It's more undercover police officers in terms of just general day to day. But yeah, I'm sure there's in other countries, just I'm sure there's stricter regulations on what they can and can't get away with, or at least more arduous review processes that are not so top down controlled by cops and people friendly to them like prosecutors.
I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I don't actually know them. I know a little bit about reform, but in terms of just changing the way cops are, besides getting consequences for what they do, I don't really know. I don't know how to fix the problem, because people on Twitter are clowning on Brian Williams or something, because he said, okay, if you hate the cops, this you should join and try to change it or whatever.
The NBC guy.
But, yeah, well, MSNBC.
Yeah.
But
that's such a him thing to say.
People didn't like that, I guess. But I don't really know.
Yeah, because people are for more structural change.
I get what he's saying, right? But
I would be cutting police budgets.
They can say whatever they want about systemic change or whatever, but obviously there are cops who exist right now who aren't doing bad things, right? So
yeah,
clearly not any cop would just kill George Floyd, right? That would be a stupid argument. It's not. I think it's more of a. Thing.
Yeah, it's I think it's more. It's closer to, putting a plastic bottle in the recycling bin, joining your own police force in your own small town or whatever, and you can make a difference. It won't hurt. It's not going to be, and of course, it's the scales are smaller than if you just put one bottle into the bin, but. In terms of dent you're making into the problem, you're kind of doing the same thing.
It's probably not much, yeah. I don't think it's super effective, but I think saying it's a bad idea is, if your goal is, okay, I want to change the police system, right?
It doesn't hurt.
Yeah,
it definitely doesn't hurt.
My point is, there's a lot of people advocating for change, and not everybody is incredibly effective at discourse.
Yeah.
Joining the police force, what I was getting to, and trying to be a better person for your community and trying to better policing that's not a bad thing.
And there are people who have done that. there's people who I think there was a big governmental push to get people to do that, and especially black people in inner city communities to do that. Yeah. And some of them had better times than others, obviously with kind of mixed results. But yeah, I remember one guy who I think quit I don't remember if it's exactly because, but he kind of left the force in, I think it was a Midwestern city somewhere around the time of the George Floyd riots and protests and the George Floyd killing and all that last year. So Yeah, it's a very.
In presence of the cops or like the rioters?
No, he was a cop. He was like a cop who joined for that.
Wait,
reason.
no, I'm saying
I forget his name.
Remember when like the Buffalo, like the police officer pushed that old guy and like his head started bleeding?
That and he
And
gets
then,
off
like,
for that.
And then like 50 of them like quit. I thought it was like that.
Oh no, but he got off for that.
Honestly, like
he didn't face any charges.
Yeah,
for
I don't know.
that.
That's fucked.
That's another great example of why people don't trust justice.
When people quit, like good, what they're doing all the work for us. If you quit because your friend gets in trouble for literally pushing an old guy on the ground and his head starts bleeding, like, okay, oh no, don't leave. Oh, we really want you as a cop. Like, what?
Yeah. It is very much it's definitely kind of an interesting thing to see what this administration will do, because right now, like, you kind of notice they're following a lot of the same steps of in Obama. Kind of like they're taking the same moves, but so far they've started out kind of looking like Obama, but they have in some, for example, the stimulus bill, probably the biggest substantive thing they've done has been a step in the right direction. And, they're not raising the corporate tax rate back up, and, there's a lot of other things that are kind of a problem. But this is going to be another opportunity that they have to, like, go where Obama goes and then some.
Is it the rate that's the problem? I thought the problem was less so the rate and more so, like, the tax exemptions. Because I don't know, like,
well, the rate, like, I feel like the rate, like, if you have the rate higher, you're like the effective tax rate is also going to be higher. Like, and at
not
least
if you don't pay taxes.
Yeah, I don't think that's true.
Well, it's like it's harder to it's harder to dodge. And then the average corporate tax was if you're not going to pay tax, you're not going to. If you pay 0, you pay it under 28 or 35. But rates and loopholes, I think would why not? I choose the option C, all of the above. But I think the angle they're taking here is kind of interesting. Garland said in brief remarks delivered to the Justice Department, good officers do not want to work in systems that allow bad practices. Officers welcome accountability because accountability is an essential part of building trust with the community, and public safety requires public trust. So that is. Hopefully it'll be interesting to see, like, the officer response if there is a new program being developed here, a new real effort to reset standards of policing done by the Biden administration, stemming out of this Justice Department review or something else, because we have been gifted with a little bit of an interesting insight into what they're doing now. And if we could play this here, Zach. This is obviously the first thing that I sent you. This is a law enforcement kind of consultant. His name is Dave Grossman. He's a former colonel in the military. He's a law enforcement trainer. Is he? No, he isn't. No, he is a retired lieutenant. He's a retired lieutenant. He's a retired lieutenant colonel in the United States Army.
And Your Honor, did you even see the Steven Crowder video?
That is the Better Call Saul defense for Derek Chauvin there. But you gonna play it or?
Yeah, tell me. You just now?
So hold on. This is Dave Grossman, who's paid by law enforcement agencies, gets them all in a big room. They sit there in their wraparound Oakleys and listen to him say things like this. Dave Grossman's books are required reading at the FBI Academy and police academies throughout the country.
I am convinced from a lifetime of study, if you fully prepare yourself, in most cases, killing is just not that big a deal. For a mature warrior who's prepared themselves mind, body, and spirit for a lifetime, for a mature warrior who's killing somebody represents a clear and present danger to others, it's just not that big a deal. There's no wrong way to respond to killing. There's many ways people respond, and they're all the same. They're all okay. But if you could choose how you responded, I think you'd want to feel good about it, yeah? the satisfaction of hitting the target under the stress of combat, to do what you're trained to do, to stop a deadly force threat, to save lives, to save your own life. Something called survive euphoria. It feels real good. Some people feel bad, they don't feel bad. Yeah? Some people feel bad, they feel good about it. Yeah? LAPD brought me out to do in-service day for the detective. LAPD detective in-service day is 600 people. One crusty old detective came up. She said, Colonel, you're the first one in 20 years to tell me it's okay to not feel bad about killing that guy. Yeah? You know, a lot of people have been on the left end of the political spectrum, been driven crazy by the movie American Sniper. Yeah? Y'all see the movie American Sniper? By the way, the whole sheepdog piece, remember Dad at the dinner table, the sheep, the wolf, and the sheepdog? That wasn't in the book. They got that straight from me with my permission. They quoted whole sentences out of my stuff to put that in the front of the movie. It's pretty cool. But folks,
that's a good sign.
A lot of people were deeply concerned that he didn't feel any remorse. He felt good about killing those guys. There's got to be something wrong with him. He should have felt remorse. He should have felt anguish. What do you think? Is something wrong with him? No, nothing wrong with him. I've seen it hundreds and hundreds of times. For those who fully prepare themselves, it's just not that big a deal.
Yeah, so that is his take there. What's your reaction on that?
I think it's just like a disregard for like human life as valuable. And I think there's something to be said about like, obviously there's like valuable PTSD training saying like, look, like I know it's easy to, like, to feel guilty about this, but like what you did was a good thing. Like you saved lives or whatever. Like I don't think.
Yeah, but I don't think it's most good cops for suffering from PTSD.
I don't know. No, I'm just saying the ones who have to kill people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, I don't think it's good for cops to like feel bad for like just doing what's like their correct thing. Like, if somebody's about to like shoot someone or whatever, like if you kill an armed robber, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it's healthy for someone to like feel guilt for that, because obviously what they did is a good thing that helps people, right? But he's just taking it like way too far and saying like you feel proud or whatever, and like I feel like he doesn't even. His point is, it's kind of, I feel like it's almost like oxymoronic, because he's saying, oh, okay, you should feel proud because you're protecting human life, but you also are taking away life by being proud of killing this person. So how? Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Yeah, and it's like, it just kind of, the thing about it that kind of disturbs me is like, you know, like the racial aspect, the racial profiling is definitely a major problem with police and all that. But one of the biggest things I think for me is this kind of attitude, the attitude of like you're a warrior, like you're coming out on the street every day in a town, like in a town that's like, you know, a lot, oftentimes, you know, you're not going to be LAPD, Chicago PD, NYPD, where you got like murderers and like gangs, all that stuff on a lot of different corners. You're going to be mostly in a small town, like hanging out on the side of the highway. And if you're viewing yourself out in the community you're supposed to protect as a warrior, like that is the stuff that leads to pulling out your gun in every little situation. And like that kind of culture, and that like it would be a lot more appropriate if that guy was like talking to, you know, military people and like kind of working them through like the PTSD. Like in my opinion, you know, they never should have to have gone through that in the first place. But like with police officers, it's just really insane. Like if anyone from any other country saw that, like I can only imagine what the reaction would be.
Yeah, it's not necessary. Police don't do that. That's a really job of police for the most part. So I do think it leads to dangerous outcomes in most situations. But I mean, I'm so conflicted, right? Because in some cases, like that training is good, right? Because like when I'm talking about the training, I'm talking about like the firearm training, right? And being able to pull out your gun quickly. Like I saw a video of this cop killed somebody, right? But the dude like he was about to like grab a gun, and the guy recognized it and pulled that out really quickly and like definitely save a life, right? So I don't know if the solution is like to have fewer of those cops in like a more specialized role or whatever. But I think you need to be nuanced about it and think about like there are positives and negatives. Like sort of in this what's her Micaiah? It's not Michaela, is it?
Makia.
Like Makia, excuse me. Depending on what you think, right? Whether or not he could have tackled this person, right? Like he pulled out his gun quickly and shot this girl who was like second, not even second, like less than a second away from stabbing somebody in the chest. So whether you think that's positive or negative, it depends. But I would say in that instance, like him pulling out his gun quickly potentially saved a life. So
yeah, it's definitely a balancing act.
Obviously took a life too,
for sure.
But
yeah,
you know what I mean.
And yeah, it definitely took a life, and that is the kind of just the general assumption. Like it's much more of it's a mindset. Like everything starts from the head. If you're going in there, by and large, and I can't speak for most, like and I don't think anyone's like statistically able to like quantify how many police departments across the country are like this and how much they're like this. But I really get the sense the prevailing force is much more towards Dave Grossman and much less towards, the guy who is on Tucker Carlson. And I really hope that at least to start, it gets towards the other way. All right. That's all we got for you guys today. This has been Newsflash. Thank you so much for listening. We will see you on Friday. But tomorrow we have a brand new episode coming out of Hidden History, our first episode back in a while. We're going to be talking about if the mob helped John F. Kennedy win the 1960 election. That'll be tomorrow. Tune in wherever you get your podcast.